What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another beer review. Today we have another beer from Foothills Brewing out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is their 2023 release of Sexual Chocolate. Has on here, released April of 2023. On the neck here it says it was bottled on April 3rd, 2023, so right at 2 weeks in the bottle at the time of review. So it says on here, Sexual Chocolate is a cocoa-infused imperial stout, opaque black in color, with dark brown head, big chocolate aroma, with notes of espresso, blackstrap molasses, and dark fruit. Usually I wouldn't read the tasting notes, but I've had this beer, so much of this beer over the years that I know kind of what to expect. In fact, if you look on Untapped, I'm probably one of the top guy that's checked into some of the vintages. But this guy this year is clocking in at 9.6% ABV. These were originally supposed to be released in the big bomber size bottles, these size, but something happened to their machine this year, so they reverted back to the single 12-ounce bottles, and they get released in 6-packs. Fun story, this, well, Sexual Chocolate, was the first beer that I ever camped out for back in 2007, I believe. I actually might have one of those bottles over here. Actually, oldest one I have over here is 2010, but I do have a vertical dating all the way back to their initial release of 2007 in the cellar. So that's what, 16 years worth of Sexual Chocolate bottles. Maybe one day I'll get around to doing a video cracking all those. But yeah. This was one of the first ones that the first beer that I ever camped out for back in 2007, whenever they were hand numbering bottles and limited to like 500 bottles. Fast forward to today where they kind of like mass produce it, and you could find it on shelves pretty much anywhere that Foothills is distributed. But enough of story time. Let's crack into this year's and see what it's got to offer. I haven't been to the brewery since release, so this bottle is actually the first one that I've had this year. As always, proper glassware. Got the Sexual Chocolate Tiku. Pitch black. Yeah, maybe a little bit of some brown hue coming through down at the bottom. A good 2 fingers of just mocha, pillowy, fluffy head going on with this guy. Looks like Sexual Chocolate. Let's get a nose in her. Definitely getting some semi-sweet, like bitter chocolate coming off of this guy, along with a nice roastiness. A faint sweetness coming off, comes across as like a chocolate, or maybe there's molasses sweetness coming across. It smells really good. Stop in. Cheers. So I wasn't picking this up on the nose, but this is like more coffee forward than previous year's releases, except for the years that they actually infused it with coffee. So there were a couple vintages where instead of doing just a regular sexual chocolate, they infused it with coffee. Here's one of the bourbon barrel aged ones that says infused, coffee infused. This was from 2018. So right around those years they did coffee infused sexual chocolate, and didn't release like a regular sexual chocolate. So they did, that was the coffee infused one, was the general release of the sexual chocolate. But as far as like a regular release of sexual chocolate goes, this is more coffee forward than I remember previous years being. With that coffee, you do get a lot of those roasted malts up front. A nice slightly bitter chocolate finish going on this guy. Right in the midway though, you do get some dark fruit action coming in through there. Just a faint punch of some dark fruits, maybe some plums, or maybe a real dark berry. I think whenever I reviewed the bourbon barrel aged from last year, I'll leave a link to that video at the end. I said I didn't pick up a lot of the espresso notes. This is hitting more with the coffee this year, especially than last year. Yeah, I really like this year's vintage. Not as much chocolate as I've picked up at the finish of previous years, but there is that faint bittersweet chocolate finish. Really good amount of carbonation on this guy. Lighter side of medium bodied. Drinks really easy. That coffee kind of like lingers through this coffee notes, that roastiness is really what is more prominent in this year's vintage. The chocolate is subdued in the back end, and I kind of like that middle palate kick of just some dark fruits, just kind of break it up. Really I like this year's vintage. I think that this year's vintage will age really well. And when I'm sure that they've already put some in barrels for the bourbon barrel aged version that will be released on Black Friday of this year. I think it's going to be fantastic, depending on what bourbon they use. But yeah, I've only picked up a couple bottles of this. It cost me $3.99 a bottle. They do come out in 6-packs. I only picked up, I think, 3 bottles this year because I'm lucky enough to be able to hit up the brewery. Brewery's pretty close. But I'm going to sit on a couple of these bottles and pick up next year's, or this coming up Black Friday's 2023 barrel-aged version. I still have some barrel-aged versions from 2022 as well. And I think what I might do is, whenever the bourbon barrel-aged 2023 gets released, do another video doing a side-by-side of the regular from this year, the barrel-aged from last year, and the barrel-aged that's going to come up in 2023. See how they all kind of compare to each other. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss out. But yeah, this year's I think is pretty fantastic, especially if you lean more towards a coffee stout. This year's packs a little bit more coffee punch than a couple of the previous years. So that being said, I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of this one. Hope y'all find one to enjoy as well. Cheers.